Braxton Miller's loose spin move. Miller
in the end zone. Oh, what a catch!
And he's got an opening. Elliott off to the races. Can they catch him?
It's Ohio State together at the mountaintop. Champions of college football.
The Ohio State of Mind podcast, hosted by Josh Keelan and Chris Wright.
Your number one stop for all Buckeye football news.
What's in the box?
A boat's a boat, but the mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat.
This is such a crock of shit. Pooh-ah!
The Ohio State of Mind podcast. Turn it up.
Out of everything in that little radio intro, I gotta ask, what's your favorite? I was going to try to cut you off before you say what it actually is. I hope it's me going, turn it up.
Oh,
like
yeah.
into the microphone in my laptop. I was like mouthing the thing, like doing that.
Well, you know what? That was my favorite until I asked a couple people and no one realizes it's you. And I'm like, how is that fucking possible? Are you listening to it? Like, it sounds exactly like.
I'm not.
Who else is doing that? Who else is saying it?
We actually brought Brad Pitt in from that one. Yeah. Evening, guys. What's up, Will? I hope you're doing well on the 2nd of June. It is finally June. We're almost halfway through this year now. Does it seem like it's flying by, Josh?
I got mixed feelings on that, dude. It's been a big year of big changes for me. So
I hear you,
time was both slowed down and sped up for me with a child and misery on my side. Your time is going to slow down for you too once you leave this precious land of freedom.
Yeah, I leave next week, and I've got a family that's driving here right now as we speak. They're going to pick up the girls, and they're going to go back home to Ohio for the summer. And
that's cool.
You need to go and make a trip and visit I've known you for 35 years now, and I don't think you've ever met my wife or daughter. That has nothing to do with Buckeye. Nothing to do with Buckeye football.
No, that's true.
We've got what Buckeye football related activities have you consumed in the last week, Josh, since we've adjourned?
So I've been taking in this 2017 recruiting class, which based off the numbers, we talked about this last week too. We talked about how we really think this is going to be the best class we ever do, right? And that might have been true, but it was also a storyline filled with, or also a recruiting class filled with extremely interesting storylines. But as far as current news goes, obviously the big news is the new college football video game coming out. It's been announced coaches are going to be in there. Jeremiah Smith is going to be on the cover. I think they're adding in a lot of cool new features. We'll see if it's worth its shit. There's been a lot of nastiness about the trailer. The first trailer shows Bryce Underwood stiff arming and spin moving Kenyatta Jackson, which is typical for some EA Sports nonsense. Yep. But I know you want to talk about this, but Ryan Day looks like shit in that video game, dude.
We will talk about that without question. And I am someone who watched that trailer probably like 10 times. I watched it thoroughly. Will jumps in. Is it true Texas wouldn't move the game time? Texas wouldn't move to Sunday, quoting, hey, they go to church on Sundays in Texas, Will. Hey, it is what it is.
It's honestly fair.
Yeah,
right?
I get.
You're moving a game from Saturday to Sunday. That one day of rest, theoretically, it could mess up what you got going on.
It is a thing. I would rebuke it by saying this is the only week in the season where you can put a college game on a Sunday and it doesn't have to compete with the NFL. So
for sure. Yeah, it's definitely a golden opportunity, but everybody's going to tune into this game anyway. So,
but you do get LSU Notre Dame that Sunday, I believe. LSU Notre Dame. I think that's the Sunday game.
I feel like LSU always plays on that Sunday, dude.
They do. Because it was LSU and USC last Sunday. Yeah. Or last Sunday.
Brian Kelly and his family will be out of church by then.
I know, right? Fucking Brian Kelly. We're going to talk about some of that stuff. We're going to talk about some Buckeye news. Josh brought it up. We're talking about the college football 26 Trailer dropped. It is dropping on the 10th of July, so we're a little over a month away, unless you go ahead and pay the $100 edition. That $100 edition comes with some extra goodies, and you get to play the game 3 days early, and you get a different cover.
Fuck that, man. Fuck that, dude. It's extra goodies. Fuck that, bro. I'm so okay.
But with that $100 price tag, you get a different cover. That's the one with everybody that's on it. You know, you've got the fans, you've got the coaches, you've got 3 Buckeyes, you got Ryan Day, Caleb Downs, and Jeremiah Smith on it. For some reason, I'm still, fathoming it. There's a freshman quarterback from the University of Michigan who has yet to take a snap, standing in the front.
Edwards is on it.
I mean, same thing. Josh brought to it as well. Hey, how they're always going to do it. They're always going to show Michigan, kind of putting the move on the Buckeyes. But I will say this, Josh. Yes, he goes, quarterback rolls out, puts a wicked spin move on a defensive lineman. Good for him. And but if you keep watching it just like half a second longer, he throws an absolute duck. Okay.
Is that right? I don't even fucking. I don't even know. Can I clarify for Will with the so first of all, Chris is actually really better at the video game than I am. Chris plays Heisman, and Chris, you probably play what? I've seen you talked about it a couple times. You played all the different game modes and stuff. You play the one with the little cards and stuff. Like, you're pretty into it, right?
Yeah, I don't spend any money on it, but I love it.
Right. But you play. You're good at the game. You play on Heisman. You played all the features, correct?
Yeah, I love it. Love it. Still playing it.
I don't even go. I've never gone into the little card area, right? Yeah. And I don't think I've ever surpassed like varsity. And I don't get to play it that often, especially with the kid. Right. But I liked back when we were growing up, when you bought the $100 version, the game would come. I'll never forget when my parents when it was my birthday, because Madden would always come out on my birthday. And I think it was Madden 25 or it was the one with Marshall Faulk on the cover. And if you bought the $100 version, that's what I
yeah.
Am I right? Is it 05 you said? Okay.
05, yeah.
Marshall Faulk was on the cover. And if you bought the special $100 edition, it came in a metal box and you got a signed Marshall Faulk trading card. And I was so fucking stoked for that. And that used to be back in the day, you would get stuff like that, or you would get like the fucking little book. The strategy guide. I don't know. You just got something you could touch, you could feel, you could hold. It was
physical media.
Now it's now it's like if you buy $100, we're going to give you this virtual trading card that you can play with online. And it's like, dude, I don't want that shit. Give me something cool, man. Give me Ryan Day's autograph. Give me a Jeremiah Smith poster. I don't know. Give me a jersey.
For $100, you can switch Ryan Day's hat to a visor.
That's the fucking truth, bro. It's such robbery, man. It's crazy.
Dude, I was absolutely right. My laptop isn't plugged in. Give me 1 second.
Let's talk about why Chris is plugging in his laptop too. Another reason why the game pisses me off too is they make these little tiny improvements and they act like they're fucking going to the moon here. They've reinvented the game. I mean, look at Ryan Day here. Chris has got this wonderful graphic, virtual Ryan Day. It looks like they took like Brock Lesnar from the WWE game or the UFC game and slapped a beard on him. And all the coaches have the same body. I'm sick of it, dude. I'm sick of it. I'll still buy it. I'll still play it. You know me. I'm going to start my franchise with Arkansas State, baby. The Red Wolves, my 1-star. I'm not going to see. I'm a hypocrite. I'll buy it. I'll play it. But it is frustrating because it's like every year we're promised something new, and it's just like it's the same fucking game. It's the same shit wrapped up.
No, I would argue. I wouldn't argue. I would say that if you were to go back on the Ohio State of Mind YouTube channel and go back to the episode and the post national championship episode. Ryan Day there kind of looks like just me with that fucking face paint on.
Dude, oh my God, he does.
Right?
You can get a side by. Can you edit a side by side of that before you go to Puerto Rico?
I'm gonna do that. Melissa Harper jumps in and says, "I'll go see them." You know what, Missy, go ahead and see my family. I would love that. Man, don't mess with Josh and his video games. Like I said, this is coming from we at a younger age we would squeeze every ounce out of these games with the limited features in which they had. Josh and I, we would get the notebooks out and go ahead and create players and create all-time Ohio State rosters. Yeah. We would do all that stuff. We would sit there and
we had that giant dry erase board in the basement.
Yeah, we had all that. We'd go and do mock drafts of freaking of play like computer generated players that Madden and college football would do. I mean, it's wild. Well, Chris, you have your Halloween costume pick. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm missing out. I got to leave the country next week. I'm missing out on it, but I am waiting on a review from you. I know you're going to play it for a day or two and family and your son will take up most of that time. But I think more of the biggest things that are to be featured in this next game is not so much they added new features. Yeah, we wanted we couldn't make heads or tails. We didn't really care about starting out in high school and playing way. It'd be cool to pick at the hat. We wanted the little things back from our glory days of college football. We wanted the trophy room back.
Yep, that'd be cool.
We definitely wanted that. It seems like last year was definitely, the first time the game was back in 11, 14 years.
It was cool. It was fun.
It was cool. No, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing is a lot of people are clamoring to is that EA Sports just went out and spent that money. They went out and spent that money because I know Metallica charges a pretty penny to use their licensed music. Now they've got Enter Sandman. When the Buckeyes are going to kick off, you've got Seven Nation Army in the game. You've got these little things for the atmosphere and to make it a little bit more immersive. And I think that's it's definitely a presentation thing. Because, I mean, let's be real, college football and Madden, they play just alike. And it's all about the atmosphere and the presentation, the difference between professional football and collegiate football.
Well, in college football too, it's for guys like us, and I think the majority of people that play the college football video game that are over the age of 12, they like to do the dynasty where you're starting out with the one school as a coordinator, rising up the ranks. Like my favorite dynasty that I was playing was I started out as the OC at Arkansas State, made it to the head coach at Penn State. Because God forbid Ohio State ever fired their coach, God damn it, and this virtual reality.
I'm telling you, man. Love franchise mode, just hard to find time. But no, I hear you, Will. We're all getting older, and it's hard to find that time. Speaking of father time, Forbes has come out with their 30 under 30 list. 30 under 30. And this, we've got a couple Buckeyes that made the list. We've got Emeka Ibuka. We got Will Howard. We got Caleb Downs made this list. We got also, I believe she was a soccer player and a male swimmer. I think they were. I'd hate to sit here and not tell you who they are. I'll tell you in 1 second. But I don't know the criteria for this Forbes 30 for 30. I couldn't tell you that one either. But you know what? It's Buckeye news on a slow news week, and it's a thing.
I thought it was like billionaires and real estate agents and hot dudes that are rich. Like I didn't think it was college athletes. I mean, I guess these dudes are rich now, so it counts. But it's like
I was totally wrong. It was a Buckeyes women's lacrosse midfielder, Amani Kimball McTavish, and Ohio State swimmer Hunter Armstrong, and former women's basketball player Cody McMahon. She's now transferred to Ole Miss.
What the fuck is it? I don't know what this list is.
In addition with being the best safety in college football, Downs co-founded LaunchPoint, an NIL platform that pairs athletes with top brands. Through his own NIL efforts, he has partnered with the likes of Armani, DSW, and A-Game Hydration, and more. He spoke in a special press event this last weekend for the 30 under 30 Columbus list. So obviously 30 for 30 went ahead and did this whole thing nationally. They picked out 6 from the Ohio State University, and they held a little soiree there. And hey, I mean, can't say I was ever in Forbes. Not without me trying though. God damn it.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I just don't know how. I don't know how it works. I'm just very confused. I think I misunderstood the assignment. I'm
uncertain as well. But what we can talk on is our main man, James Laurinaitis being inducted into next year's class of the College Football Hall of Fame. He's going to be is one of the 79 players nominated for the College Football Hall of Fame in the class of 2026. This is his 7th consecutive year on the ballot, and he has now gotten in 7 years.
Yeah, man, he deserves it too. Kind of shot that took that long.
We'll get to that, Will.
You know, was there any other Ohio State guys that got on it? Like it's pretty. Dawson got in a couple years ago too. It does take a while for these guys to get in. I don't really know what the rules are for that either, but he was a 3-time unanimous All-American. So,
well, I will say this: he is only the 4th linebacker selected from Ohio State for the College Football Hall of Fame. Those other 3: Randy Gradishar, Tom Cousineau, and obviously our main man Chris Spielman. So it's good company to keep.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's very cool. Very cool. Very happy. He deserves it.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. Surprised Big Cat, Andy Katzenmoyer didn't make it. A little surprised.
Yeah, that is odd. I don't really know why, what the reason is. Maybe there's some academic stuff there that they didn't qualify. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that's weird.
Will jumps in. This is actually a good story. Thanks for bringing this up, Will. Did that defensive end that decommitted from Oregon visit yet? No, he is set to visit. He's got Ohio State, Florida State, and Alabama on the list to visit. Funny story. Go ahead.
We're talking about Richard Wesley. Is that right?
Yes. The one where Dan Lanning and him jump in the fucking pool together. And he decommits the following week.
Fucking weird, bro. Coaches are so weird, man.
Will is also surprised that AJ Hawk isn't in there as well. Again, Hawk and Big Cat, absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of linebackers that deserve to be. I mean, from Ohio, it's. I don't want to say it's bullshit, but it's. I don't know. I mean, Pepper Johnson probably should be in there. Eric Kumro should probably be in there. Tom Cousineau should probably be in there.
Tom Cousineau is in there.
He is? I thought you said it was
Randy Gradishar, Tom Cousineau, and Spielman. There's the 3.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the cue. I thought you said Laurinaitis was the 3rd guy. Okay. Yeah, I mean, but still, Bobby Carpenter probably could be in there. He had a very successful Ohio State career.
It definitely seems like they need to be a little bit more on the decorated side when it comes to accolades, and maybe that's as a criteria by the College Football Hall of Fame committee.
Yeah, I don't know what the criteria is. Will might be right. Will saw with the golf classes Big Cat took. That might be legit. That legit might play a role, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, but you think Big Cat, all the All-Americans, Outland Trophy, all that.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Any other Buckeye news we're missing before we jump into this 2017 draft class?
No, man, I'm very excited about this recruiting class, and I'm ready to dive in, brother.
Let's dive on into it. I apologize for the lack of graphics, but we have a complete breakdown. Here, Josh goes ahead and delves his time and whips up an Excel sheet that we've got a working product each and every week, and he sends it to me with a phenomenal tagline in an email every week, I have to say.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that. All right, okay, so let's set the stage, right, like we always do.
Yes.
The top 10 recruits in the country that year were number 1, Jalen Phillips, defensive end who committed to UCLA. Suffered a lot of injuries, later transferred to Miami, was a first-round draft pick. No one's going to call him a bust. Number 2 is Cam Akers, the running back from Florida State. Obviously, everybody remembers him. He was phenomenal. He was 2-time All-ACC. Started there for like 3 years. Second rounder, no one would call him a bust. Third, Najee Harris, running back from Alabama. Everybody knows him. He ended up sharing a backfield with who's the kid that played for the Raiders that got drafted in front of him?
Jacobs.
Yes, Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs ended up getting drafted before him, but Najee Harris was the starter. Najee Harris was the first. No, I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. Damian Harris was the one that split backfield with
yes, and went to the Patriots. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, I can't remember who Najee Harris was split backfield with, but whatever. Najee Harris was a dude, first-round pick. No one would call him a bust. Alex Leatherwood was the offensive tackle He actually started as a freshman, which was a huge deal at Alabama. Went on to become a first-round pick. No one would call him a bust. Foster Sorrell, offensive tackle, went to Stanford. Suffered with some, I think he was like a freshman All-American. Then he suffered a bunch of injuries. You could start to put him on the bust side. He didn't get drafted, and I don't think he was an All-American or anything. Like I said, I think he dealt with a lot of injuries. Marvin Wilson was the 6th player in that class. He was a tackle for Florida State. He was a guy that played every year he was at Florida State. Started every year he was at Florida State. I think he was all ACC every year he was at Florida State. I don't know. I think a lot of people would call him a bust, though, because his last year there was really disappointing. I think he was like 3rd team All ACC. He never was like an All American. He was never like a dominant force. We did this podcast last week and we were talking about, God damn it, who's the 5-star we were talking about last week? Oh, Teron Vincent. Is Marvin Wilson better than Teron Vincent? I don't know if that's true, dude. And we kind of talked about Teron Vincent being like a fringe, is he a bust or not? So Marvin Wilson would be an underrated. I was really stoked when the Browns got him, and he didn't do shit in the NFL either. So Jeffrey Okudah was number 7, quarterback for Ohio State. No one would call him a bust, All-American. I think he was unanimous All-American, first-round pick. Chase Young, defensive end, Ohio State, again, unanimous All-American, first-round pick. No one would call him a bust. Number 9 was Joshua Kando, a defensive end of Florida State. He was kind of a tweener guy. Guy was recruited ranked this high because he was big, fast, long, strong, but he was really raw. That kind of showed itself at Florida State, but he did play. I think he sat the bench. He played sparingly his first 2 years. His last year there, he played a lot, was very, very competitive. I don't know if anybody would call him a bust. He didn't explode, but he kind of exceeded expectations. I think because he left early too. So I don't know if I would call him a bust either. Number 10 was Walker Little, offensive tackle, Stanford. No one's calling him a bust. He was absolutely phenomenal. I think he started every year he was there. He had COVID, if I remember right, and then he also got hurt, and then he came back, and he was like an All-American. Yeah, he was very, very good. He was ended up being a second-round pick, played for the Jaguars, was on the All-Rookie team. Very, very good. Those Stanford offensive linemen dealt with some injuries. The top 5 players from Ohio that year. Well, before we move on, did you have anything to say about those 10 guys?
No, I mean, let's be real. Out of those 10 guys, we're talking about 5 first-round picks.
Yeah, no, it's a very good class. Very, very good class. The top 5 guys from Ohio that year. Number 1, Josh Myers, who was rated as a guard. Obviously, we know him. Went to Ohio State, second-round pick from Miami Spurs. Everybody loves him, right? I think actually was he rated as an offensive tackle on 24/7 Sports?
Offensive tackle, yes, offensive tackle.
Yeah. So he was rated as offensive tackle, but a lot of recruiting services had him as a guard. Either way, he played center. Who cares? It was great. Absolute home run. Brandon White, the son of William White, former Ohio State safety, was rated as an athlete. Went to Ohio State, transferred to Rutgers. His last 2 years there he was okay at Ohio State. I would call him a bust, but a lot of that's not his fault. They tried to make him that bullet position, and the guy they just never had the balls to let him stick it out. He was like a Rose Bowl MVP before he transferred out to Rutgers. Was okay at Rutgers. I don't know. He was just kind of that tweener. He wasn't really athletic enough to play defensive back. Wasn't really big enough to be a true linebacker. That bullet position was what he came to Ohio State to be, and they didn't do that. He actually was a wide receiver his first year or half a year on campus. It kind of fucked him up a little bit. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened if they would have let him play defensive back all the way through. Or maybe even linebacker, one or the other. I don't know. I think he kind of got screwed, but either way, it's probably a whiff. Lynn Bowden was an athlete, went to Kentucky. He was drafted in the 3rd round. Lynn Bowden was a guy that I kind of got upset when I realized he was even from Ohio. This was a dude that was so fun to watch at Kentucky. He went to Kentucky as a quarterback. They moved him to wide receiver, moved him to running back. Like 3 injuries happened his last year at Kentucky, and he moved back to quarterback. It was like all SEC. He was just an absolute dynamic athlete at Kentucky, dude. Very much in the form of Randall Cobb, who also played all those positions. So it would have been super fun to see that guy at Ohio State. That was a big
I agree.
Ohio State didn't recruit him at all until like the last month, was my understanding. It was like really, really late in the game when Ohio State finally knocked on his door, and he was like, nah, I'm going to Kentucky. They're going to play me pretty much immediately. And he was that's kind of a bummer because that would have been fun. But I think he had some off-field stuff going on too, but either way, whatever. Number 4 was Amir Reep. Speaking of off-field issues, was a 3-star cornerback, was at Ohio State, dealt with some allegations we'll talk about a little bit deeper later. Ended up went to jail for like 2 years. Then he transferred to Lincoln College in Missouri. He's with the Memphis Showboats in the UFL right now. I would say that's a big swing and a miss. Number 5 recruit of Ohio that year was Jalen Harris, a big He was a 3-star wide receiver by 24 cents. But both Amir Reap and Jalen Harris and Lynn Bowden were ranked as 4 stars by a couple different recruiting services. So take that with a grain of salt. Jalen Harris was actually a guy that left the team, didn't get in trouble or nothing, was just kind of a bust. Just didn't have the juice. And they kind of just they let him. I think they let him keep a scholarship, but he got to walk away from the game like his last year there. He was after the COVID year. Just kind of sucked. Anything about those 5 before we go on to the next part?
No, man, just a couple guys. I think the biggest one, Jalen Harris, was you're right. They were flirting around with a 3-star, 4-star, and you saw the potential there, but nothing came of fruition. The fact that he walked away from the team and he was still able to keep a scholarship too, but. He was somebody I thought that was going to transfer somewhere and go play some ball, but I wouldn't mind delving into that story a little bit more.
Yeah, he was done. We'll talk about it a little bit more. There's really not much of a story there. I did some digging. I asked around. He was just he's one of those guys that really appeared like it clicked. Like he was like, oh, I'm not built for this. But maybe you know something I don't. But we'll get into that when we come across his path. Let's go over the top 5 guys Ohio State missed on. Now, if you go to 24/7 Sports website, you can go to the decommits. The decommits are filled with guys that committed to Ohio State and then decommitted, right? Obviously, as the name suggests, right? Danny Clark pops up, a quarterback, yada yada yada. Guys like that. But some of those guys, they decommit because Ohio State kind of shifted their interest, right? Like a guy like Danny Clark was a 4-star quarterback, but then he got lowered to a 3-star, and then Ohio State got Tate Martell. So there's and we talked about that last week with the 2018 class too, where it's like there's just some guys at Ohio State was like, it's okay. We don't really need you anymore. So instead of highlighting those guys, I did highlight one of those guys because one of them was very good, and Ohio State wanted him. It was a shocker all the way up until he signed his letter of intent. But the other 4 guys I wanted to talk about were guys that Ohio State made a serious run at. These were guys that visited Ohio State a couple times. These are guys that all the way up until signing day, Ohio State thought, hey, there's a chance. Number 1 was Cam Akers. He ended up going to Florida State. It was not until December of that year that Cam Akers came out and announced his top 5, and Ohio State was not in it. Even after that, so you can go back and look at podcasts, news articles. Some people thought, hey, Ohio State's not giving up on this guy. Okay, so that's very interesting considering who they got, J.K. Dobbins. Najee Harris was number 2. He committed to Alabama that April. That did not stop Ohio State from pursuing him and pursuing him hard. So I thought that those 2 names were super interesting because they kept popping up when you go back and you go again. Don't take my word for it. Go back, Google these guys, and then Google Ohio State. You'll see their stories. You'll see news articles and stuff like that. Jay Tufeli, defensive tackle, who ended up committing to USC. I don't think that that's a big miss. I think Cam Akers and Najee Harris, obviously those guys are special. Ohio State got J.K. Dobbins, so whatever. But those guys are special. Jay Tufeli, that's your typical. He was okay. He was solid. Ohio State was in his top 2. Like he did the hat. Ohio State's hat was on the table. Okay. Number 4, Marvin Wilson. Okay, which we talked about top recruits. Ohio State was in his top 5. Ohio State was in his top 5 before he announced Florida State. Tyjon Lindsey committed to Ohio State. He was a Bishop Gorman wide receiver. This class was filled with a couple different Bishop Gorman guys. Tate Martell was leading the march on that. He was at 5'6", 180 pounds, just an absolute, playmaker, kind of like a Dante Hall, human joystick kind of guy. Ohio State was pumped on him. You can read articles about Tyjon Lindsey, and people already etching him in to playing as a freshman. It was a massive, massive surprise when this wide receiver signed his paper, and it was to Nebraska. Now, he didn't do shit for Nebraska. He ended up transferring to Oregon State, where he was subpar. I don't think anybody at Oregon State is hanging his jersey in the rafters, right? So I don't think Ohio State missed out on him, but it is interesting that was a guy that he was, like I said, he was seen as a big fucking deal. Now, let me go. I like to do this every week. I like to read the preseason magazines or read little excerpts. So this is that. Well, before we move on, did you have anything to say about those misses? Did any of those?
No, I was really just curious about how much of that hype when it came to Wilson and playing at that same high school with Tate Martell. I wonder how much, or honestly, even at the same time, they were so dynamic in Vegas, and was it 3 straight state championships. I wondered how much that was, number 1 overall quarterback feeding you the ball, or maybe the lack of skill or competition that you were going across every Friday night. So,
Well, I don't know because Bishop Gorman beat IMG Academy that year too. So Bishop Gorman beat their fair share of,
That's right. It was on HBO. It was on ESPN. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So they beat their fair share of top-notch talent.
It was on HBO right before Real Sex and Taxi Cab Confections. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But man, it's interesting. Urban Meyer definitely had a type, like as far as like he liked to recruit from certain schools and certain conferences in certain areas. You'll see a couple guys. It's funny too because a lot of the biggest whiffs are from those giant schools. IMG Academy, we'll see a couple of those. He definitely had a type, as we know. We've had people on the show that have confirmed that. But it is interesting. But yeah, Tyjon Lindsey clearly benefited from being a Bishop Gorman because he was. Surrounded by a lot of guys that went to college, top colleges. He maybe didn't get all the focus. If he would have went to a smaller school, I don't know, maybe Miamisburg, like Josh Myers, no one would fucking care who he was. So 24/7 Sports, they ranked Ohio State's final class as number 2. They write, on a per recruit basis, Ohio State put together the highest rated class in 24/7 Sports history in 2017. Because they didn't have room for a full class, the Buckeyes weren't able to edge Alabama at number 1, but there's no question that this group can compete for national titles. Among the most impressive aspects of this effort by Urban Meyer is the work he did out of the region. 3 of the top 6 players in the state of Texas picked the Buckeyes. This includes long athletic linebacker Baron Browning, 6'1" lockdown corner Jeffrey Okudah, and running back J.K. Dobbins. That is as explosive as anyone in the nation. His quarterback room continues to look like arguably the most talented in college football with the addition of Tate Martell, a kid that went 43-0 as a starting quarterback for Bishop Gorman High School, throwing for more than 7,500 yards and rushing for more than 2,200 yards in that process. Other highlights include a road grader and offensive tackle Wyatt Davis out of California, a beast of an edge rusher in Chase Young out of Maryland, and a Florida cornerback named Sean Wade that had 7 interceptions as a senior. So that's kind of interesting. Steve Wilfong also writes in 24/7 Sports what he's doing is he gave Ohio State the number 1 Big Ten recruiting class every year. Urban Meyer has been at Ohio State. The Buckeyes have finished at the top of the 27 Sports Big Ten recruiting rankings, with the 2017 class being the best one yet. OSU finished number 2 nationally, but number 1 in average ranking per commit at 21-player Hall. Were 24/7 Sports composite 5-star recruits, a phenomenal class across the board. The secondary is the strength, where the Buckeyes signed the nation's number 1 and number 2 high school cornerbacks in Jeffrey Okudah and Sean Wade, and the top JUCO cornerback in Kendall Sheffield. One more thing, then we'll move on. The top newcomer of that year listed by I'm getting them confused, but there was Athlon or Lindy's. But one of those preseason magazines lists Kendall Sheffield, a former 5-star prospect of the 2015 class. Sheffield signed with Alabama over Ohio State, but transferring to Blinn Junior College after redshirting with the Crimson Tide. He chose the Buckeyes the second time around because of the clearer path and playing time. He could start right away. So I thought that was interesting. A couple things there. You can go back and listen to Urban Meyer's press conference, and a couple of the beat writers did press him. Hey, why are there no Ohio kids? And he was kind of like, no Ohio kids were good enough. He was talking about how they put a scholarship away for Ohio kid. A lot of people alluded to that scholarship was put aside for Lynn Bowden, who ended up choosing Kentucky. It is interesting. And then the next year, 2018, we talked about that last week, where, again, people were bitching about the lack of Ohio guys. Urban Meyer was a great national recruiter. Unfortunately, he did ignore the state of Ohio. At every year, everybody looks at that as a good, not necessarily as a good thing, but they overlook it because it's like, well, he got these 75 4-stars. But when we go back and we recap these recruiting classes like we're doing today, you're going to find that a lot of these guys fucking sucked. So it's like, I would have rather you swung and missed on an Ohio kid like Jalen Harris than swung and missed on a guy like Marcus Williamson, right? Which I guess he's Ohio kid who transferred to Florida, so that's a bad example, but you get my point.
No, I wholeheartedly get it, but us being we're slowly transitioning to these old heads, and we want to see these kids come out of Ohio. We want to see these kids come out of Ohio and be successful. I would argue to say this is probably the only class we're going to cover that has no Ohio kids.
There's not one. Is that right? No,
just Jalen Harris.
Josh Myers is from Ohio.
Okay.
Brandon White's from Ohio. We talked about that. Marcus Williamson transferred to IMG, but he's technically from Westerville. Jalen Harris is from Ohio. I think Jerron Cage was from Ohio. Thayer Munford's definitely from Ohio.
You're right about Munford. Okay.
Amir Reap is from Ohio. And I think Blake Heibel's from Ohio. I can't remember. We'd have to look it up. But there are a couple Ohio kids, but there weren't. Usually under Tressel, I think there was like half the class was from Ohio.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's not been the case under Urban Meyer. It was also fun going back and listening to these podcasts where no one can pronounce Akuta's name right.
I remember there's another one right there. I remember Akuta committing the All-American game. Can't think of the name of the game. The Under Armour All-American game. Was it correct, or was it the?
I don't know if it was the Under Armour one or the Army one. Usually, I have those notes prepared. I did not.
I think it was the U.S. Army one, actually.
I think you're right. Oh, I know it was. it was because I had his autograph on one of those cards. Yeah,
there it is.
So he was a U.S. American.
Looking at this class, we did a 2018 class last week. And we did a 2018 class that mustered up, 48 points?
Yeah, brother.
48 points off our scoring system. And I'm going to say we're going to kick right off. Chase Young, 50 points off the rip.
Yeah, dude.
Fourth class by himself.
Yeah, dude. He was another, U.S. Army All-American, number one guy in the class, 5-star recruit, a finalist for the Heisman Trophy, just the ninth player since 1982, ninth defensive player since 1982 to be a finalist. He won both the Bednarik Award and the Bronco Nagurski Trophy. He won the Tim Hendricks Award, won the Chicago Tribune Silver Football, and the Big Ten's Defensive Player and Defensive Lineman of the Year awards. He led the nation in quarterback sacks with 16.5 and sacks per game with 1.38. Number 2 nationally in 2019 in tackles for loss with 21.5 and tackles for loss per game at 1.8. Led the nation of forced fumbles with 6 and with a half forced fumble per game. Set school records with 16.5 quarterback sacks, which finishes second to only Mike Vrabel with 31 career sacks. Had 99 career tackles, including 42.5 tackles for loss, figures that ranked 5th or 11th and 5th, respectively, in Ohio State history. Dude, it is crazy to think about what he would have became if he would have stayed another year. This is a guy who left 3 years. We're talking about maybe not just the greatest Ohio State football player of all time, but maybe the greatest college football player of all time. The Predator was that good, and he was that good immediately.
He was. Cool, fun, interesting fact. He's in this 2017 recruiting class. He also was a basketball player in high school. He was a teammate of Markelle Fultz. That name sounds familiar. Markelle Fultz was drafted out of high school as the first overall pick in the NBA draft in 2017, same year.
Wow. Did not know that. Don't know anything about basketball.
I didn't
believe it. Baron Browning, 5-star inside linebacker, going over his recap. He got a couple. How many points do we have for him, Chris?
We got 6.
Okay. Third team All Big Ten Conference in 2020. Played 12 games as a junior. In 2019, his performance for Penn State, 7 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, and 1.5 sack, earned him champion honors from Ohio State coaching staff. Was selected as a champion 4 times during the 2019 season. Finished the season with 43 tackles, 6 highest on the team, 10 tackles for loss, 4th highest on the team, and 5 sacks. Recorded at least 1 tackle and all 12 games that he played in. A member of the 2020 Buckus Award preseason watch list, was in on 23 tackles in 2018, including 3.5 tackles for loss. Had 14 tackles as a true freshman in 2017, including 6 in a win over Maryland. Now, Baron Browning had a very successful career at Ohio State. No one would argue that. I think that he deserves his place upon the echelon of Ohio State history. With that said, this is a Bill Davis fumble. Bill Davis was the linebackers coach with Baron Browning.
Yeah.
They moved him around. They never know what to do with him. They played him a middle linebacker, moved an outside linebacker, had him rushing the passer, had him not rushing the passer. The Broncos did the same thing. He played as a middle linebacker his rookie year. They immediately used him as a pass rusher. This dude is a freak athlete. He probably should have been playing on the outside his entire college career, and unfortunately, that's not what happened. It would have been. I think that he probably was what he was, because I think that he was just kind of a late bloomer with the size, speed aspect, but that did not help. That did not help. Baron Browning was the best athlete on the field every time he stepped on it, and they just did not seem to – if he was at Penn State, he would have been a first-round pick, dude. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. You brought it up. He decided that he came back for that senior year, and that senior year is when they switched him from middle to outside, and then you saw him really bloom, and he should have been there the entire time. And, I think he's having career stats in the NFL right now. He's got 128 tackles, 11.5 sacks, 6 pass breakups, a pick, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. He's with the Broncos, and then as of this last year, he went to Arizona.
Yep.
Third-round pick. I mean, if he was starting maybe a natural outsider, we would have maybe talking about a second-round pick, maybe knocking at the door at first.
If he would have played his entire thing, if he would have went to Penn State, he'd be a first-round pick because there's no difference between what he can.
If he went to Penn State, he might have been wearing that legacy number 11.
Yeah, dude. Exactly. There's a difference between him and Micah Parsons, but there's not a big difference between him and like Chop Robinson. There's just not.
There you go.
Or Jay Afude or whatever that other guy's name that drafted by the Ravens. You always see the second pass. Whatever. I digress. Number 3, Jeff Okudah, who is listed as a safety, a 5-star safety. How many points do we give him, Chris?
Jeff Okudah, he was awarded 13 points in total. He was drafted in the first round, the 3rd pick overall. He's also an All-American, first team All-Big Ten, and 3rd team All-Big Ten. And a unanimous All-American as well in 19. He had 13 points, my friend.
Yes, yeah, and it's this other guy just like Chase Young. He left early. He left after 3 years, and he probably could be the greatest to ever wear the scarlet and gray at cornerback. He did make the move at cornerback, but a lot of people knew he was going to play cornerback at Ohio State, so I don't really know why they have him at safety. Whatever. First Ohio State cornerback to earn unanimous All-American honors. He earned first-team All-American recognition in 2019 by AP, FWAA, Walter Camp, and the AFCA, and the Sporting News. Is now one of Ohio State's 32 Big Ten leading total of unanimous All-Americans in history. He and Chase Young give Ohio State a total of 87 consensus All-Americans to rank 2nd nationally among all FBS schools next to Notre Dame. In 2019, he was a finalist for the Thorpe Award, which we already know. He started every game, intercepted the first 3 passes of his career versus Miami and 2 versus Nebraska, and had 9 pass breakups and 2 forced fumbles to go along with 35 tackles. An absolute beast, and it's a shame that he left early. Maybe in the NIL era he would have stuck around. I doubt it though. So
no, again, him being named a finalist for the Thorpe, and he underwent that senior year. I mean, one more year, look at where we were. He's playing that. He's playing that last. That in that college football redemption arc against Clemson the next year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Number 4, Shaun Wade, 5-star cornerback, consensus All-American in 2020, Ohio State's first ever Tatum Woodson Big Ten Defensive Back of the Year award winner, 2-time All-Big Ten honoree, including first team in 2020, played in all 8 games in 2020, was 3rd on the team in tackles with 35, and led with 6 passes defense, 2 interceptions, and 4 pass breakups. Started all 14 games as a third-year sophomore in 2019, in total 26 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 1 interception, 2 forced fumbles, and 8 pass breakups. Chris, how many points did Shaun get?
Shaun Wade got 11 points from us. 11 points, two less of Jeff Okudah.
Yes, and Shaun was great. He gets shit on a lot because he struggled his senior year, but I mean he was a very solid cornerback. People aren't going to forget that year, and that was the year he was on the outside. Unfortunately, that's how it goes. He played a game on ESPN against Marcus Williams his senior year, and Shaun Wade, I believe it was Shaun Wade. It had to be Shaun Wade. He was so good that, first of all, he was the best player on the field. Second of all, he was so good they moved him to wide receiver with like 2 minutes left, and he fucking torched Marcus Williamson from the IMG Academy. I know it was 1 touchdown, it might have been 2. So that's how good Shaun Wade was as a football player in high school. So that 5-star makes sense. Number 5.
Absolutely.
Yeah. J.K. Dobbins, 4-star running back. Another guy, let's put him in the category of Chase Young and Jeff Okudah, where he left early. But my God, if he would have stayed, maybe we're talking the best to ever do it. Chris,
Agreed.
How many points did our boy Dobbins get?
Our main man Dobbins, 27 points. 27
My
points
God.
at the running back position.
My God. In 2019, he became the first running back in school history to top the 2,000-yard mark, finishing with 2,003 yards and 21 touchdowns. He finished 6th in the Heisman Trophy voting, had 10 100-yard rushing performances during his junior season, including a career-high 211 yards and 4 touchdowns and a 56-27 win at Michigan. He ranked 3rd nationally in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns, had 7 rushes of 40 yards or more, including a 68-yard touchdown in the first quarter of the college football playoff semifinal versus Clemson. Is the first Ohio State player ever to rush for 1,000 yards or more more as a freshman, sophomore, and junior. Finished his career as the school's second leading rusher all time with 4,459 yards, with the great Archie Griffin, the only player to run for more. Averaged 106.2 yards per game over his career. He totaled 5,104 all-purpose yards, both figures ranking second in school history. His 6.2 yards per carry for his career was also second best among Buckeyes, and his 43 touchdowns scored are tied for fifth with JT Barrett. He never missed a game in his 3-year career. He eclipsed 100 yards rushing in 6 games and became only the 4th freshman in Ohio State history to eclipse the 1,000-yard mark rushing in history or this season. He finished his inaugural season with 1,403 yards as an Ohio State freshman. So obviously, if he would have stayed another year, we're talking about the best running back in Ohio, possibly the best running back in Ohio State history. I would still say he's up there.
No, he's in my top 5 statistically alone. The fact that you're a running back and you don't miss a game is a testament to yourself. Obviously, his NFL career, he hasn't been as injury-proof, which is sad to see because every time you see him when a season starts, he just absolutely goes nuts. And, no, I mean, you think about it, Jake, and I love that you brought up his career high day at Michigan, that we still reference it as the abortion game, correct?
Yeah,
the Gus Johnson abortion game, right?
Clarify that. You need to clarify that, though.
The Gus Johnson abortion game. He waltzes in for his 4th touchdown of the night, or of the day. It was a noon game, and Gus Johnson said he spoke to his mother the night before, and she was struggling, and she had the thoughts and ideations of possibly aborting young JK. But Mama, look at him now.
Dude, what a fucking weird story. Yeah, dude.
Oh man.
Yeah. We got some. We do have some people in the chat. I skipped over.
Will New Dobbins was good. Didn't realize he was that good. Only 6th in Heisman voting. Come on. I hear you, Will.
Yeah, and then go watch him as a rookie in the NFL. I mean, he was easily a top 5 back when healthy. Will says, crazy how Kuda NFL career is gone. Yeah, he dealt with some injuries early on. He did deal with some injuries early on that definitely hurt him. But, if you talk to some people, they'll tell you that the pass rush from Chase Young also helped elevate his stock a tad bit. So that might be it. And then we'll also mention, honestly, I thought Browning was disappointed. And you're fair to think that. I would disagree, but that's also because I feel like he was held back. But again, statistically speaking, you're not wrong. The number 6 Buckeye in the class is Wyatt Davis, a 4-star guard from the state of California. Fun story about Wyatt Davis. He lived in the same neighborhood as an assistant coach at USC. So, on signing day, Urban sent out Ed Warner. I can't remember who the offensive line coach at the time was. Basically, just set out front of his house. Just try. It was a close call. It was a close call. Wyatt Davis, 2-time first-team All-American, unanimous first-team All-American in 2020, 2-time All-Big Ten Conference, 2020 Big Ten Conference Remington Pace Offensive Lineman of the Year award winner, the first guard in Ohio State history to win the Remington Pace Award, blossomed as a third-year sophomore in 2019, starting all 14 games, named a champion by Ohio State coaching staff 10 times in 2019, which was the third most on the team, was player of the game following a 28-17 win over Penn State, played in all 14 games as a redshirt freshman in 2018, and logged 241 plays on offense, plus another 106 on special teams. Chris, how many points did Wyatt Davis get?
Wyatt Davis being the 3rd-round draft pick, 86 overall. He was awarded 26 points, one shy of J.K. Dobbins' 27.
Yeah, and Wyatt Davis, one of the best offensive linemen in Ohio State history. No questions asked. Number 7, Josh Myers, who again was rated as a 4-star offensive tackle according to 24/7 Sports. Chris, how many points did Josh Myers get?
Josh Myers was awarded 15 points. Josh Myers drafted in between the 1st and the 3rd round. He was an All-American, 1st-team All-Big Ten, and also a 2nd-team All-Big Ten awardee.
It's crazy he didn't have more points because, again, this is probably one of the best offensive linemen in Ohio State history. 2nd-team All-American in 2020 by the Sporting News. We did not count that because we don't count Sporting News. Correct, Chris? That's what we talked about?
That is agreed upon across the board.
We talk about Sporting News. We got to talk about CBS. We talk about all this. So we really were only counting AP. unfortunately for Josh, but he is one of the best to ever do it. It's just sometimes we had to put a cut off at some point. Remington Trophy finalist, first team All Big Ten Conference, was chosen by the coaches in 2020. Had a breakout season his first year as a starter in 2019. Played over 900 offensive snaps, named a champion by Ohio State coaching staff 9 times in 2019. It was the player of the game following the win over Maryland. A second team All Big Ten choice by the media. Redshirted as a true freshman in 2017. It was the backup to All-American Michael Jordan in 2018. Now, it is important to note, I should have said this earlier, Josh Myers was moved to center. That is where he had his best success, was at center. Yes. That is where he plays in the NFL today.
Yes. Absolute
so we are
stud.
Moving on. Yes, absolute stud, one of the best to ever wear the scarlet and gray. Now we're moving to someone who's not one of the best to ever wear the scarlet and gray. We got our first little row on the list, and Trayvon Grimes. Now, I got Trayvon Grimes autographed on an Ohio State jersey, so kind of a big fan. 4-star wide receiver from the state of Florida. He ended up transferring back to Florida. He did see action in 2 games. He recorded 3 receptions for 20 yards on his way out to Florida. Now, Trayvon has a little bit of a story behind his situation. Now, this was back before the days of the transfer portal where you got to transfer willy-nilly. So players were some players were transferring for honest reasons, like their family was sick, and Trayvon may have fallen under that. Supposedly his mom had cancer, and she lived back in Florida, and he transferred to move back with her, so therefore he qualified for meeting eligibility. Other players maybe exaggerated the situation. There's been some speculation that maybe he exaggerated that. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Others claim, now there was a report, this is Brett McMurphy, a name that pops up multiple times if you follow the Urban Meyer hierarchy. He's also, clearly Brett McMurphy's not a fan of, what's the name of the receivers coach that's got his podcast now?
Menace to Sports,
Zach Smith. So, Trayvon has an interesting story because his dad, who should be noted as estranged, told Brett McMurphy he transferred because Trayvon got in a fight with Zach Smith, and Zach Smith said racial slurs. Now, Brett McMurphy wrote this story. A professional journalist wrote this story, and at the end, he wrote, trying to remember the exact quote. I should have wrote down, what is the truth? It depends on who you ask. That's not something a journalist should ever write. So
right.
It also should be noted in the same article, he says he reaches out to Trayvon, who insisted that he has not talked to his dad in 2 years, in more than 2 years, and that that guy is a liar. His exact words were, his father is a liar, and I have not talked to him in over 2 years. Gary Murphy still wrote a story about this. Okay. That is fucking wild to me.
That's definitely scumbag mentality. Absolutely.
That is super, super wild to me. Now, it might. I don't think it happened because, Johnny Dixon, Terry McLaurin, Austin Mack, all those guys came out and said that Johnny Dixon actually comes out and says, hey, I was there. I saw the fight. There was no racial. I guess it got nasty, but there was nothing that hurtful was said. So it's just an interesting side piece. Go ahead and give that a little bit. For our services, he's gotten 0. Correct, Chris?
Yes, he was kind of he was on the bigger side of a get when it came to Urban Meyer. He was from one of those blue blood schools in Florida. He's from St. Thomas Aquinas.
Yes, that's right. Bosa convinced him to come.
He was a 2-time state champion in track in the state of Florida. He came to Ohio State, only I think it was 3 catches for 20 yards his freshman year. He went to Florida. He never saw more than 33 catches, never saw more than 500 yards receiving. And then his senior year opted out of the 2020 Cotton Bowl to prepare for the NFL draft, in which he went undrafted. Yeah.
Good catch, dude. Good catch. Yeah. Opted out of the Cotton Bowl, and he was not good. He was never good. No. I like Trayvon. I got a bunch of his cards and stuff. I'm not bashing him as a human being, but that was not a big – at the time, because of the article and because of the caliber of player he was thinking what people thought he was going to be, it was a major news story. Now it's kind of laughable. Number 9th player in this class is Haskell Garrett, 4-star defensive tackle. Chris, how many points did Garrett get?
Haskell Garrett, 1 point shy of Josh Myers. He got 14.
I was shocked by this because I don't remember Garrett being as dominant as this. My little recap is going to provide. Led Ohio State in sacks in 2021 with 5.5 and was ranked second in tackles for loss with 7. Scored 2 touchdowns, 1 on a 32-yard fumble return versus Minnesota in 2021, and the first off a pick-6 interception in the end zone versus Michigan State in 2020. He recovered from a gunshot wound in the summer of 2020 to play in all 8 of the Buckeyes games that fall, a first-team All-American in 2020 and a first-team All-Big Ten Conference performer in 2021. And he also got an extra X on hardware that you're not going to see on Wikipedia because I believe he was the Polynesian Player of the Year. That might be on Wikipedia. I can't remember, but I thought that was an interesting nod. I don't remember Haskell Garrett being that dominant. I just simply don't. I thought he had a very Teron Vincent-like. It's so weird, these defensive tackles. I just don't remember them being – I don't know, man. When I think of defensive tackles, I think of Ndamukong Suh and Aaron Donald and, the big fatties from Georgia that don't move. Dan Wilkinson, Jonathan Hankins. That's a recent guy that I thought was fairly dominant. Tyleik Williams. I thought Tyleik Williams was dominant. I don't remember Haskell Garrett being that dominant.
No, you're right. Haskell Garrett was definitely a guy that was just there. He was just there, occupying. He was occupying the middle of the field. Will jumps in and says, "Is Haskell still in the NFL?" He's not. No. Haskell Garrett is not in the NFL any longer. Haskell Garrett, he wasn't in
the NFL for very long at all. He was in the NFL for like a year, right?
He was there for 2. He went undrafted in 22. Actually, sorry.
Yeah.
So it was 1 year. You're right. Tennessee picked him up. Haskell Garrett was a kid that kind of moved around a lot. He was a Vermont kid, born in Vermont, and then moved to Hawaii, and then went to Nevada at 13 following the death of his father. He's the first one of all these Bishop Gorman kids we're going to be talking about. Well, not kids anymore. They're grown-ass men. But he got the invite to the U.S. Army All-American Bowl. He committed to Ohio State. He was – Haskell Garrett, you talk about he was shot. Not only was he was shot in the face when he was attempting to break up a fight. Got shot in the face. But no, he doesn't fall into that echelon of all-timers or guys that were big disruptors. He was just kind of there. But hey, Polynesian Player of the Year, my friend. You don't have
and I want to give him more credit. Just because I don't remember him as being that dominant doesn't mean he still wasn't in somebody's eyes, and that's fine.
Right.
Chris and I designed this to try to weed out our bias, and that's awesome. And some of that might be because Chase Young was so fucking dominant that he really took a lot of that attention away from. It was really hard to pay attention to anybody else because that guy was so good. But moving on, number 10 is Isaiah Pryor, 4-star safety, another 0. He ended up transferring to Notre Dame, where he played linebacker and was also pretty below average. I think he plays for the Houston Gamblers in the UFL right now. He transferred after his junior year in 2019, where he played in 4 games, posting 3 tackles. As a sophomore in 2018, he played in 13 games, totaling 31 tackles, 20 of which were solo, and 1 interception. He had 6 passes defended on the season, which was the second most on the team. He posted a career-high 6 tackles at Purdue, notched his interception, a win versus Minnesota. And as a freshman in 2017, he lettered as a true freshman, playing in all 14 games, tallying 13 total tackles, 9 of which were solo, and noted a season-high 4 tackles in the win versus UNLV. So this is not a guy who wasn't playing. This was a guy that was slowly seeing his playing time fade away because Josh Proctor was coming in the picture, and Josh Proctor we talked about his injury holding him back, but a healthy Josh Proctor was a nasty Josh Proctor. And Isaiah Pryor wasn't a bad football player. He was subpar. His career was probably that of Grimes. It was okay. Isaiah Pryor was going to play at Ohio State. He was going to be a dude that I forget, but he saw the writing on the wall as far as Josh Proctor went, and he left. So there we are.
Yeah, no. Pryor, I think 3 years with the Buckeyes, 2 with Notre Dame. That last year at Notre Dame, he transitioned from safety to linebacker, but as a career, he didn't amass 100 tackles. Like I said, 3 years with the Bucks, too. Yeah, 3 or 5 years in total. We're 10 games with Ohio State, 13 with Ohio State, 4 in the COVID season, 12 with Notre Dame, and 13 with Notre Dame. So we're talking of 52 games that he played in.
Yeah. Yeah, so pretty underwhelming. But again, not the most underwhelming player ever. Number 11, Tate Martell, 4-star quarterback from Bishop Gorman. One of the most fun highlight tapes you would ever see. I swore I thought this guy was going to win the Heisman Trophy. He did not. He actually gets a big old 0 on our list. And not only did he suck at Ohio State, but he transferred to Miami, Florida, where they moved him to wide receiver because he sucked at quarterback and he sucked at wide receiver. And then he transferred to UNLV, where he still didn't get to start at quarterback. He actually he retired. I don't know if you can retire if no one wants you, but he retired. I also retired. If Tate Martell retired, I retired. He redshirted as a true freshman in 2017, but he did see action in 6 games as a redshirt freshman in 2018, totaling 269 passing yards with 1 touchdown, which was actually to Trayvon Grimes. On 23 of 28 passing in 2018, rushed for 128 yards on 22 carries with 2 rushing touchdowns. And I thought that he had some kind of Ohio State record, and I was too lazy to Google it. But I think he's got some kind of record for like the most efficient game, one of the most efficient games in Ohio State history. I think he was like 23 of 24, one game or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
I'll go back and look at that. I should have looked that up, but I did not. Another Army All-American, too, for those that are curious. But that is the end of the Tate Martell saga. Now his sister's banging Paris Johnson. So fun fact there.
Hey, no, it was like everything under the sun when it came to this guy when it came out of high school. We're talking 2-time USA Today All-American, USA Today Offensive Player of the Year, Gatorade Player of the Year.
There you go.
Everything under the sun. Never even lost a high school game, and it was.
Well, that's not true. So his freshman year, he played at like Desert Pines or some shit before he transferred to Bishop Gorman, and they went like 2-7 or some shit. But when he transferred to Bishop Gorman, when he went
3 years.
Bishop Gorman, there you go.
Yeah, I didn't realize how small Martell was. He could run through. Yeah.
Martell's interesting. Oh, well, I'm sorry.
No, like I said, Miami wasn't the fit. UNLV wasn't the fit. This kid had, big hopes, dreams, and aspirations, and you got to understand that it came to a point where, your accolades, this and that, only carried you so far, and hard work did more. Hey, fucking Dwayne Haskins came in and just pushed him out of the way, quarterbacks in before him, and it was never really an idea that he was going to come in and start a game.
Yeah, I think Tate Martell. It is somewhat interesting. I don't think he was ever going to be good, right? Because I think that, and when you go back and you listen to podcasts and stuff, most people are like, "Well, he's really small, but he's got these traits. He's very quick, yada yada yada." If Urban was there still, there is an argument to be made that Tate Martell could have been the starting quarterback and had a JT Barrett-like career. There is an argument there. Would I make it? No. But you could make that argument. What really did Martell in was that after Dwayne Haskins left, was it Dwayne Haskins? Yeah. After Dwayne Haskins left, they got Justin Fields.
Yes.
Justin Fields was in the transfer portal. And then Tate Martell, he saw the writing on the wall. He had a terrible spring. Justin Fields beat the shit out, which Justin Fields didn't have a great spring that year either.
No.
He fucking bailed. And that was Ryan Day's first year as head coach, and we see how Ryan Day wants to run his program, right? He don't want fucking Tate Martells and JT Barretts. Those days are fucking over, right? Yeah. He wants to do that can sling. I mean, Justin Fields is the most athletic quarterback in Ohio State history, and I don't think he cracked 1,000 yards rushing. You know what I mean? No. We just talked about JT Barrett is like 4th in Ohio State history in rushing touchdowns. Like, that's fucking insanity. You know what I mean? Like, there is an argument to be made that Urban Meyer could have made it work with Tate Martell, because my understanding is that Urban Meyer loved him some Tate Martell. So just throwing that out there. But yeah, he was not good at UNLV either. So maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't have worked. Yeah. Number 12, Brendan White, 4-star safety. Now, Chris, I know you were just jonesing to give this guy some points because he was a Rose Bowl MVP. But unfortunately,
that's a good one. I like that.
Unfortunately, he did get a big old 0 because he transferred to Rutgers. I won't spend too much time on Brendan because we did talk about him a little bit earlier. He's the son of William White. Brendan's a very nice guy too. Love Brendan. He's I've met him multiple times. Great guy, awesome dude. Played at Rutgers. Played for the Massachusetts Pirates in the Arena League. Then he played in the CFL for the Elks for a bit. Kind of been all around trying to keep that dream alive. Was the Jets for a tiny portion, but it is what it is. In 2017, as a freshman, he played in 5 games at both wide receiver and defensive back as a true freshman. Recorded a tackle against Rutgers. He made his collegiate debut versus UNLV. 2018, as a sophomore, he played in 14 games, produced 5 or more tackles in final 6 games, and finished the season with 46 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 pass breakups and interception, and was named 2019 Rose Bowl Defensive Most Valuable Player with 8 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and interception on a 2-point conversion to win over Washington. Against Northwestern, he had 5 tackles in the Big Ten Championship game. He recorded 5 tackles, recorded a 49 interception return against Michigan. He had 5 tackles against Maryland. He added a pass breakup and 5 tackles with Michigan State. Collected a career-high 13 tackles, including 2 tackles for loss against Nebraska. Added 2 tackles in the season opener versus Oregon State. Reason I want to highlight that is because those are like the biggest games that year, and he shined in all of them. 2019 as a junior, he played in 10 games, finished the season with 19 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a sack, and a pass breakup. He registered 3 or more tackles in 4 games for recorded 2 tackles at Rutgers, 2 stops at Wisconsin, collected 3 tackles against Northwestern, had 3 tackles against Indiana, produced 3 tackles against Cincinnati, and a sack against Cincinnati. He had 3 tackles and a tackles for loss and a pass breakup against Florida in the season opener. But obviously, we're seeing that those statistics kind of drop. He saw the writing on the wall, left for Rutgers. There is an argument to be made with him if they would have stuck it out with that bullet position, not fuck with them position-wise, moving back and forth from wide receiver. Because, again, in college football, this was one of the first recruiting classes where like half the class enrolled in the spring, by the way. So, every little bit counts. We're seeing that with Lincoln Keenholz, kind of that delayed start. So imagine that delayed start and you're not even playing the right fucking side of the ball. We're not talking about a guy who's playing linebacker, moved to safety. Like we were talking Baron Browning getting fucked over because he was playing outside and inside linebacker. This guy's playing wide receiver. Right. Yeah. So there is an argument to be made. I don't think he was ever going to be a star. I would make the same argument with him as Tate Martell, where he could have been a pretty decently productive guy that, maybe Tyvis Powell, a guy that like, oh yeah, that guy was cool. That guy was not a liability. But again, that's an argument that I would not make. But
no, I would agree with you. Will chimes in. Where would we be if Fields didn't come in? Will, we don't have to think about that. Okay. We don't have to think about that.
We would have had Emory Jones.
Oh, there it is. Brandon White.
That 2020 team, dude, that's one of my favorite Ohio State teams of all time. It would not be.
No, you're right. Brandon White, though, we talked about it, I think, last week. Another guy who got his feet wet against Rutgers. What's the deal?
Yeah, man, I don't know. Rutgers was shitty, so they put a lot of backups in quick. I don't know. I don't.
Okay.
Know. Another. I shouldn't throw this out there because it doesn't matter. But we talked about back to the Tate Martell thing, and we'll mention the Justin Fields thing. It's so interesting how little the quarterback mattered under Urban Meyer.
Right.
Even Braxton Miller. I went back and watched that 2013 game against Wisconsin. Braxton Miller was a good quarterback. I'm not shitting on him, but he was he was a better athlete than he was a quarterback. No, I don't think anybody's going to argue against me. But he had more in common with Steve Belisari than people realize. He threw a lot of fucking rainbow balls, bro. And Devin Smith just happened to be the fastest guy in America. But yeah, dude. I mean, so it's Justin Fields. Ryan Day needs a quarterback. So without Justin Fields, the 2020 team would have. I don't know. They would have won 6 of their 8 games that year. They probably would have lost to Indiana. I'd see that. If Urban Meyer was still there, I don't think it would have fucking mattered because Urban would have won with the fucking broom. As long as that broom can run, he would have won some games. That motherfucker. You know what I mean?
I would wholeheartedly agree. Next up, we've got a little bit of a dip here. We've got Marcus Williamson, Jalen Harris, and Jerron Cage all getting 0 points. We'll start at the top. Marcus Williamson.
Well, I know you're trying to speed this up, but for Marcus Williamson, I do have to slow it down. Marcus Williamson, a cornerback, 4-star cornerback from IMG. That was the guy that I said got destroyed by Sean Wade, who didn't even play wide receiver full time in high school. So already some red flags there, but whatever. Interesting career at Ohio State. He got 0 points, right, Chris?
0 points.
Okay, he totaled 27 tackles and had 3 pass breakups in 2021, where he played in 12 games. He was second among defensive backs in 2020 with 27 tackles, added 2 pass breakups and 1 quarterback hurry. He appeared in all 14 games for the Buckeyes in 2019 as well, and totaled 7 tackles, 1 forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. In 2018, he had a season cut short due to injury, but he did letter as a true freshman in 2017 after playing in 10 games. So this is a guy Ohio State liked. This is a guy that played early, played often. He was kind of getting squeezed out towards the end of his career. which leads us to a fun offseason story about Marcus Williamson. He got to sit at home during a bowl game and was tweeting about how the coaching staff was pieces of shit. They were racist. I think he shared a photo of like Trayvon Martin in a hoodie and said that Urban said that no one was allowed to wear a hoodie. Now, this is another super fun journalistic story for you. The Los Angeles Times, the beacon of truth that is the Los Angeles Times, wrote an article and interviewed Marcus Williamson about the struggles and the mental hurdles of a college athlete, right? Because at this time, they're not getting paid. The LA Times frames it like they're being abused. They're not getting anything. Now, remember, he's still playing for Ohio State, so he's getting all of his food, his board, his clothes paid for, but whatever. That's a personal opinion I'm throwing out there. This article, the LA Times paint Marcus Williamson out, and go read it yourself. Do not take my word for it. To be a fucking hero martyr, okay? Again, read it yourself. Don't take my word for it. Okay. What do you want to do? He's like, I'm going to be a truth teller. I'm going to be a hip hop artist that concentrates on his experiences as a college football athlete, as a black man who's getting abused by the system. Okay. Because later on, this same guy, not too long ago, gets arrested for kidnapping. He stole a car with a woman inside and just ran off with her. Okay. And then he also got in trouble for robbing 9 fucking banks. That was a couple years later. So this is a guy with a track record of being a huge piece of shit. Right. Not every player, but a lot of players have come out and said that the Trayvon Martin thing did not happen. That, he made a lot of stuff up. He was upset. He was hurt. And that's fine. Those things, whatever, man. He's just a fucking dildo. That was a swing and a miss. And I'm really the part that upset me the most was the lack of journalistic integrity from LA Times to only interview one person and get one side of the story.
Exactly.
When there's over 80 young black men on that team that you could have talked to and get a second opinion about, right?
No, I wholly agree, especially when you've got one young man who isn't getting the cut that he feels he deserves, but you've got a team that's absolutely flourishing on the field. There's another 22 guys on there that are playing and they're being successful in their own craft. I mean, it's to not talk to anybody else that is kind of baffling to me.
Yeah, and I'm not going to sit here and act like he was the worst player ever in Ohio State history, but he wasn't good. Right. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing. The only thing that separates him from the other guys we talked about that sucked was that he didn't transfer out. So whatever. Yeah. Here we are. He probably goes in the same. But Kayvon Pope got on his team, but Kayvon Pope was actually good at football. Had some other issue, whatever. Yeah. Marcus Williamson. But like I said, don't take my word for it. I know I said a lot of my personal opinion. Go read that LA Times article. It's super interesting because, knowing what we know now about Marcus Williamson, you have to scroll past his many, many headshots. But you will get to that article. Number 14, Jalen Harris, another 0, 4-star wide receiver from Ohio, played a career-high 89 offensive snaps as a true junior in 2019, had 1 catch on the season, which came against Cincinnati. He had 2 catches for 27 yards for UNLV as a true freshman in 2017. He eventually walked away from the team after COVID. Was it 2021, Chris, or 2020?
2020. He left in 2020. He had played in 1 game, 1 tackle, 1 solo, and then walked away.
Yeah, but I don't think he got in any trouble. There's no issues. It was just one of those situations. Urban Meyer was pretty. Remember, Urban came from the SEC where they offered dudes for. That's one of the reasons why Alabama was always number 1 under Nick Saban, and we've read it twice now. These back-to-back classes where the SEC schools just offer 75 fucking scholarships, and they just walk and roll, and they tell people, "Hey, you're not going to play. Walk away." So Urban was pretty notorious for being like, hey, dude, you can keep your scholarship, but you don't need to come back to the facility. So I don't know if that's what happened with Jalen, but we can use context clues to kind of figure out that that's what was going on. But that's fine. That's fine. I don't think that Jalen's a piece of shit. When you Google him, nothing negative pops up. Just like I said, football wasn't for him. He got a scholarship. I'm sure he's doing great with his life.
Nope. But another 0. Again, he was sitting there in freshman, sophomore, junior year on the offensive side of the ball. Senior year flips to the defensive side of the ball, and it wasn't him. And he opted out, and he got a degree.
Yep. Absolutely. So, Jerron Cage, defensive tackle, 4-star. This is another 0, correct?
Another 0, my friend.
Jerome Cage, I don't think he is a better caliber of a football player than the other two. He was on the route. We'll go over his stuff. He plays with the Montreal Alouettes right now. So if you want to watch the CFL root from go rock and roll. Had his best season statistically in 2022, where he played in all 12 games. He recorded 12 tackles that season, had a career high 5 tackles for Iowa that year, and he had tackles for loss against Michigan State and Iowa. And in 2021, he had tackles for loss against Tulsa, Akron, Indiana, Penn State, and Utah. In 2019, he played in 9 games as a third-year sophomore, and he had tackle for loss on a forced fumble against Maryland that year. He played in 3 games in 2018, which included Oregon State, Rutgers, and Tulsa, after taking a red shirt in 2017. So, Jerome Cage, another guy who stuck it out. Not a lot to say. Kind of a rotational guy. It is what it is, right?
I would agree, my friend.
The 16 is super interesting. Kendall Sheffield, cornerback 4-star. We talked about him a little bit in one of those preseason magazines. Let's go. I'll read his breakdown, then we'll kind of dive in. He was a starting quarterback for all of 2018. It was an honorable mention All Big Ten Conference performer. He made 14 starts as a fourth-year junior in 2018 and recorded team highs in both pass breakups with 8 and passes defended with 10. Recorded interceptions with Rutgers and Minnesota. Had a career best 5 solo tackles in the Rose Bowl victory over Washington. In the summer of 2018, he was selected by NFL.com as the fastest player in college football. We did not give him a point for that. That is not hardware, unfortunately. He did this after he broke the Ohio State school record in the French Field House, which is where the track team does their indoor competitions. He was on the track team as well. He had a record 60-meter dash with a time of 6.663. The previous record stood for 23 years. That's like borderline Olympic speed, guys. Sheffield had a fine sophomore season with the Buckeyes in 2017, playing in all 14 games and ranking second on the team, right next to Denzel Ward in pass breakups with 9. He also contributed 40 tackles on the season. His 3 starts included the Goodyear Cotton Bowl against USC, where he earned champion status from the OSU coaches for his Cotton Bowl efforts, including breaking up a career best 4 passes, making 3 solo tackles, and forcing a fumble that led to the Buckeyes touchdown, a 24-7 victory over Sam Darnold's USC team.
Yes.
So Kendall Sheffield is an interesting one because this was before the transfer portal. The SEC had rules. We kind of saw this a little with Antoine Jackson we talked about last week. He went to Alabama, didn't play, wasn't a big fan. A lot of guys aren't. Alabama would not allow him to do a transfer to other SEC schools and would not allow him. Alabama, they had a bunch of weird rules where they're like basically like, nah, dude, fuck off. You ain't going. We're going to make you go somewhere else where you don't want to go. So you could go to the community college route where you don't have to sit out a year, which is what Kendall Sheffield did. He went to Blinn Community College, which is the same community college Cam Newton went to. Obviously, they didn't play at the same time, but it's a very reputable community college as far as football goes. And then he transferred to Ohio State, one of the fastest players probably ever to play at Ohio State, to be completely honest with you. How many points do we have for Kendall? Because he was a pretty solid player. He was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons. He's still in the NFL today.
Being drafted by the Atlanta Falcons, he was drafted in the 4th round, 111th pick overall. You got 2 points, my friend.
Very nice.
Hear me out. You talked about this elite speed. 2-time state champion in high school when it came to this elite speed. I believe it was the hurdles and 110 and 300 meter hurdles. He goes to Alabama. Like you said, it's almost like the NFL. It's almost like he's a restricted free agent, and or he's got like the university itself has like a no trade clause, kind of like you would see in hockey or the MLB. Like I said, he was an absolute fucking speedster. Looking at his NFL history, he went 4th round, went to the Falcons, and since then he's played for Falcons from 19 to 21. 22, he went to the Houston Texans. That same year he was cut. He was on the practice squad for the Dallas Cowboys. The next year, in 23, he was the practice squad for the Texans. After that, he made the team for the 49ers in 2003. He was released, made the team for the Titans in 23. And last year he spent time with the New York Jets. And now he is currently on the roster, active with the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, man. Well-traveled dude. He actually started for the Falcons too his rookie season. But yeah, he was okay. 2 points is probably about right. He's still
in the league, but he's a journeyman.
Yeah, and he was a contributor at Ohio State, so he deserves those points. Number 17, Thayer Munford, 4-star offensive tackle, another Ohio guy, first-team All-American in 2021 by the AFCA, which I don't think we don't count that, right? We did not give him points for that.
No. No.
Okay, yeah, because again, AFC. I want to make sure I didn't accidentally get points, which is unfortunate because again, he was great, but it is what it is. He was a 4-time All Big Ten Conference honoree, including first team accolades in 2020 and 2021. I think we only gave him 3 X's. We didn't give him 4 because one honoree was an honorable mention, right?
Yes. Yes.
He
Right.
started 12 games in 2021 after starting 7 games in the COVID-wrecked year of 2020 with 13 starts in both 2018 and 2019. He was on the field for at least 700 plays in 2018, 2019, and 2021. Darren Munford, he's just a very solid player that, basically was a heavy contributor every day he was here.
No, I agree. He was he played his high school ball in Massillon, he was a Massillon Tiger, the Cincinnati Kid. He come to Ohio State. We talked about, he was every bit 6'6", 300, 315, something of the sort. He was a absolute fucking man-child. We're talking, all these Big Ten picks, fringe, if you would, All-American. Still drafted in the 7th round. Kind of sucks. Obviously had that, he started all 7 games of the COVID-19 season in 2020. He considered, leaving early, going to the NFL draft, decided to come back. Good on him. But like you said, it is that American Football Conference or Coaches Association, that AFCA All-American. But
which is still great. I'm just saying we just had to limit what we were doing for our points.
No, and then of course, if you look back that 2022 Rose Bowl, they went ahead and moved him back to tackle because NPF, he opted out of that game to get ready for the NFL draft. So, I don't know if that helped, that hurt him, maybe showed some of his versatility. I thought he would go a little higher than 7th round, honestly. But, good on him. He's still with the Las Vegas Raiders currently.
Yeah, he was a guy that flipped back and forth from guard tackle.
Yeah.
He was pretty solid at all of it. His high school story was a little interesting because he started out, he went to some school for the first 3 years of his career. His high school coach left to go coach Massillon. He followed him. They didn't allow him to do that because they said it was illegal recruiting. So he actually only got to play like 4 games his senior year of high school. It didn't matter. He was going to go to Ohio State regardless, but it's kind of interesting.
He was eligible for the final 3 games of his senior season in high school. Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Number 18, Pete Werner, 4-star outside linebacker. Pete Werner's an interesting one because he was committed to Notre Dame basically up to the 12th hour, and then Ohio State flipped his ass. 2-time All Big Ten Conference honoree, among the team leaders and tackles in each of his final 3 seasons. Led the Buckeyes with 54 tackles in 2020. He was second on the team in tackles in 2019 with 64. He earned a starting assignment at linebacker as a sophomore in 2018, where he started 13 games while playing in all 14. He was 4th on the team with 58 total tackles in 2018 and added 7.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 7 pass breakups. Very good linebacker. I would say one of the best. Very underrated. How many points did he get?
He got 8 points. And, every week we do this. We talk about these diamonds in the rough. We're talking down here. We got Munford with 15 points. My diamond in the rough is Pete Werner because this dude was a guy that if you told him to go play corner, he'd give it hell. If you told him to go play quarterback, he'd figure it out. He was a guy that was just kind of all over the field, undersized, but he was not afraid to come up and meet you in the hole either and just absolutely pop you. He was fun to watch. I would watch the program and look out and find number 20 on the field.
Yeah, no disputes here. If you go back and you watch those games, you said he's all over the field. He's many times he's the most and the only competent linebacker on the field in the tough Borland, Baron Browning games. Pete Werner's an absolute stud. He's shown that with the New Orleans Saints. He was a 2nd-round pick. I think he just got a big-ass contract extension. This was a big home run because Ohio State almost let him walk to Notre Dame. But moving on.
Well, let me add you this. Got this big extension with the New Orleans Saints. Let's be real. This year, he could eclipse 400 tackles in the NFL. That's not a feat that goes lightly when it comes to a guy was brought into Ohio State and he was kind of just let's figure out where to put you, and he undersized. He was
an afterthought for sure.
Yeah, and to get picked in the 2nd round too, and killing it, man. He's put on some weight since college. Let's not get it twisted. He's at about 240, 245 now. But Pete Werner's a stud.
Great player. Absolutely. I would put him in the upper echelon of Ohio State history for sure. Number 19, another interesting off-field story. We'll get to Amir Reap, 3-star safety. This was kind of debatable. You could see some people have him as a 4-star recruit regardless. Played in all 14 games in 2017 as a true freshman and all 14 games as a junior in 2019. He recorded 20 tackles as a junior when he played in over 222 plays on defense in addition to his special teams duties. Had 2 interceptions in 2019, including 1 in the Michigan game. Also had interceptions during his career versus Nebraska in 2018 and Northwestern in 2019. Now, he gets 0 points. He'd end up transferring to Lincoln University in Missouri. Yeah. He just graduated. He graduated in 2023, I think. He's with the Memphis Showboats right now. Now, Amir Reap, he was kicked off the team due to Title IX issues. He was accused of rape. Okay.
Yes.
Now, the charges were dropped multiple years later, and he went back to college. Him and Jason Went. Jensen Went was the other Ohio State player that was charged with rape that year. They were both they were roommates. Now, the charges were dropped. That's great. That's awesome. He's still not a great human being. I implore everybody to go back and read the court documents. He said him and Went, there's some pretty, it's not funny, but like one thing that made me chuckle was that Went said, like, I guess the girl, so the story goes is the girl comes over, she's texting Reap. She goes in their house. She has sex with Reap. Jensen Went claims that he was playing Call of Duty and it was Reap's turn. So he went to go get him. He had no idea that they were having sex. Okay, already red flags went. I feel like I know when my roommate's banging, but whatever. He opens the door. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, my gosh. I just opened the door. Do you mind if I join? And then Reap says, let him join, and he joins. Okay? She doesn't. She's feeling uncomfortable, yada, yada, yada. According to Went, he's asked multiple times, do you feel uncomfortable? Is everything okay? And in the court documents, he says, honestly, I was a bit creeped out that she was willing to have sex with me, and she didn't even know my name, which, as we know, as single dudes who both ventured off in our 20s, that doesn't creep any guy out. It's not funny. It's a very serious issue, but some of the stuff these college kids were saying, like to get out of the gross, and then they recorded her giving consent on their phone. And she's like crying, and they found that they deleted the first video. So it's like, dude, like, and then they claimed that they wanted to get proof because Urban Meyer and the coaching staff told them that they need to get consent, which I believe that conversation happens. I know that conversation happens. That's not what they mean about getting consent. Like, they don't mean to like write up a fucking NDA. Right.
They also don't mean for you to record what looks like hostage video.
Yes. Yeah. That's not what they mean. I know that I was reading some of the comments on some of that stuff, and like there was a because I'm sure that conversation did happen. Others have denied. Other football players say that no, that doesn't happen. I'm sure it does. I think that it does. And I do think that these guys are targeted sometimes. I do. I've seen it. I don't think that's an illusion. That's the reality of being a star college athlete. With that said, these court documents are icky, my friend. So that's the charges were dropped. Kudos to him for getting his life back on track, playing on the UFL. But my God, that's a gross situation. That's a big old swing and a miss for a human being for Urban Meyer there.
I would agree. And last but not least, Elijah Gardner.
Well, you don't have anything to add. I rambled on about the rape case.
No, I
don't want to touch it.
I'm leaving it alone. I'm just letting all that go.
Should I have not touched it? Is that what you're telling me?
I think you could have left it. I think you could have alluded, say he was playing Call of Duty, stumbled to another room, and then joined some other kind of co-op.
It's fucked up. It's fucked. We're not making light of the situation, but
absolutely not.
It happened 10 years at this point. Or, almost 10 years ago at this point. It is what it is. He was punished whatever. It is. We're moving on. We're moving on. Again, do your own homework. I implore everybody to do their own homework. We're kind of just pointing in the right direction. No, well, number 20, Elijah Garner, like you said, wide receiver, 3-star. He was seen as like a gem. Like a lot of these, oh man, we got this big ass kid from Texas. He appeared in first 4 games on the 2019 season, playing in a season high 7 snaps versus Miami, Ohio. He played in 10 games in 2018, mostly on special teams after redshirting in the 2017 season as a true freshman. It did not amount to much. Another 0-point guy. Also walked away from the team, right? Is that right?
Yes, walked away from the team, amassed. One catch, yards. Yes, they both walked away from the team. He ended his college career with 1 reception, 10 yards. Nothing significant to report, really, my friend.
There you go, 0 point. Now, last guy, Blake Heibel, the number 1 kicker in the nation, 3-star kicker. This is funny too because all the podcasts and stuff. Blake gets blamed for this recruiting class not being number 1. But he was still the number 1 kicker in the nation. So that,
right.
That feels a little unfair. He scored 230 points to rank 16th all time at Ohio State and 10th among kickers, was 13 of 15 on field goals, and made all 85 of his extra points in his first full season as a starter in 2019. He kicked a career-long 55-yarder at Northwestern, the second longest in Ohio State history, and the 9th longest in all of college football in 2019. The following week versus Wisconsin, he made a 49-yarder in the rain to give Ohio State a 3-0 3-0 second quarter lead. He made 10 consecutive field goals to finish the season, including all 3 in the college football playoff semifinal versus Clemson and 2 in the Big Ten championship game against Wisconsin. Was 3 for 3 on field goals from 40 to 49 yards. Heibel's 85 extra points were the second most in the nation that year. He took over all placements midway through his sophomore season in 2018 and converted on 10 of 13 field goals and all 37 of his extra point attempts for 67 total points. Chris, I know I've gone over time rambling about these guys. I will stop.
Hey, we're talking about all these zeros, and we're talking about people walking away from the team. We're talking bank robberies. We're talking transfers to community college. We're talking about Call of Duty co-ops. Blake Heibel gets a point, though, baby. 13 all Big Ten. He gets a point.
That's right. He gets a point, baby. Yeah. He was okay. He was a very, very okay kicker. Very okay kicker.
Hey, if you're going to tell me we got an Ohio State kicker that made in one stint 10 field goals in a row, I'm with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely not Nugent. Definitely not Nugent, but no. He's better than most that walk through these doors.
I would wholeheartedly agree. With this 2017 class, though, we have amassed 188 points, taking over the number 1 spot so far.
By a large margin.
Insane. Right? Very large margin. Very large margin.
It's game over, dude. We can go back. I think this is it, dude. I think it might be it. Class, bro. I mean, there's some fucking ballers on it. You can make a pretty competitive NFL roster with some of these guys. You know what I mean? Like with the top layer of this class.
Oh, I could wholeheartedly agree. We've got, like we said, we've got some people on this team, are on this recruiting class that are still dazzling in the NFL. Let's be real. Did J.K. Dobbins not win Comeback Player of the Year last year?
Did he?
I feel like he might have been. If he didn't, that's a shame.
Because I thought Burrow won it.
Oh, fuck me. You're right.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Ugh. Yeah.
He was second. And then Chase Young was rookie of the year. Got hurt. Got
right. He's bouncing around a little bit. He's finding his place, and that comes with he's getting paid. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's going to be the show. We went from 2020, or where did we start? We started 22.
No, you're right. 2020.
We started 2020, 1918. Now we're at 17. We are going to figure out where the chips fall come next week. I am flying out of the country next week. We're going to re-adjourn the following week. We will be back together, I assure you. We might come to you with a different time, see what works. I might be or tens of thousands of miles away in different time zones, but we're going to figure that out. We're still going to come back to you with some Ohio State in mind content. Josh, anything sport-wise worth a damn this week?
No, man.
Stanley Cup starts this week. I know that's not anybody cares about that. Stanley Cup starts this week.
No, I do not. The UFL playoffs start this week. So
okay, there you go.
But that league is so weird. I'll rant about that league later.
Okay. Well, of course, as always, we appreciate each and every one of y'all jumping on here. You can find me at crunning15 on X, Josh.
Yeah, man, follow me on X at Josh Keatley16. You can hit me up. My DMs are always open. We're uploading these on Spotify the next day as well.
There you go.
Oh, I tell you what, that's not a bad idea, Chris. That is not a bad idea.
I'd love to watch it.
We will bounce that off. That's a good idea. Will's offer for those that are listening. Will and Aaron are offering to fill in for Chris. So we might have to do that. Maybe Chris and I'll come up with some topics and we'll rock and roll with that. We'll certainly see what we can do.
I know what's going to happen though. You're going to need to tell me how many people are coming on so I can set these cameras up here so you don't have a fucking meltdown. Because every time I'm not on, it's like I don't know how fucking Chris does these, and just she's trying to move shit around.
I know. Well, the first time you left, I had like this. It was like the leaves in the background too. I couldn't even fucking find the bricks.
But we the Ohio State of Mind podcast will be back next week. Like Josh said, his DMs are always open. Weird, always. But for any and all. any and all offers. But of course, this is the Ohio State of Mind podcast. I'm Chris. He's Josh. Will's jumping back in. We can just Josh curse when he plays NCAA. There you go. Just live stream.
Chris sent me the video. Chris just told me he played on Heisman, and like part of me was like, "Do fucking people play on Heisman?"
Dude, it's a chess match. Playing on Heisman is. You have to have the quickest fingers to do every single adjustment before they snap the ball, or you're just done. You're cooked.
Dude, I lose like a game on varsity. Like just being like,
dude, it got to the point where I got one of those controllers with the buttons on the back, so I have to move my thumbs. Like, oh yeah, dude. Let's go put him in a hard flat. Let's put him on a 3 in a zone. Dude, it's nuts.
That's wild.
But now I'm bummed because, like I said, I'm leaving the country, but I'm leaving the country for 3 months, so I don't get to touch the new college football.
Damn, dude.
And I got a little mini projector too. I am going to watch the Texas game out of country.
That's kind of sick though. That's kind of sick.
Well, I think I want to watch it like at Saturday at midnight.
Okay, that blows, but
yeah, I think I do. Will, one more. Did you say 3? Yeah, 3 months, homie. As always, I Say to Mine podcast. I'm Chris. He's Josh. We will be back next week with more Buckeye news. And Josh and I, and hell, maybe Will. We're going to figure it out. But as always, take care of each other, and go Bucks.
Go Bucks.